Kon Knueppel is a polarizing prospect in this draft. Projected lottery picks. Some people adore this kid's game. I've seen him mocked as high as fourth. I think the Athletic, John Hollinger, had him up there. Some people are not as high. Some people have him late lottery. Don't think I've seen anybody believe this kid is not worthy of a lottery pick. He was one of Duke's best players at times, their offensive engine last year on a team that won two championships in the ACC regular season ACC tournament, and then made a Final Four run at the end of it. It seems so short ago that a year ago we were on a Zoom call just like this, and you had been hearing rumblings out of Duke practices that Kon, who was not even a projected starter in Duke's lineup last year in the summer, was the guy that was turning heads and was arguably as impressive as even Cooper Flagg was, partially because of the element of surprise at how good Kon Knueppel was. It's no longer a surprise how good he is offensively, but let's just talk broadly, Riley. Where do you stand with Kon Knueppel 1 year into his professional career?
So I am definitely on the higher side of Knueppel believers. I have him on my big board at number 5. I wouldn't hate if he went 4 to the Hornets. I think that would make a lot of sense. We can get into that later in the show. But of course, he's known, even his reputation coming into college was like this knockdown spot up shooter. He can come off of screens, give you some movement shooting as well. The appeal for me, though, is the pick and roll playmaking. I think he's just a super savvy player who can get to the rim. Like he obviously hasn't tested super well, I think athletically, or you can maybe even tell he doesn't have the best athleticism, but he uses his body really well to carve out space, to get to the rim, understands angles. And then that passing, we saw it on full display. Like in the ACC tournament when Cooper Flagg was out. I go back to that Georgia Tech game where he finished with 28 and 8 in a game where Duke went down early and they needed him to step up. Shot 13 free throws in that game. Like he's just a really well-rounded player. And I even think with some of those athletic limitations, the size and the strength combination sort of covers up some of that. And you pair that just with a super high processor, super high feel for the game. Like he to me is a very high floor player. And I think there is like, I'm not gonna say you want him as like a primary option on a playoff team, but I think he could be like that secondary option, like the sidekick to a star level on a really, really good team.
We'll get more into floor and ceiling later, but I like you throwing out secondary at the top. So I think that's where it starts and ends for me, and you're going to keep hearing this. His fit is going to really matter here. If he goes to a situation that kind of doesn't have an engine yet and just doesn't know what to do with him, I could see it going really poorly. If he goes to a team that has an established first option that's very good and proven as a first option, he's going to help that first option a lot. The same way he helped take pressure off of Cooper Flagg in the half court by being a guy you could go to possession after possession after possession. Let's define a couple strengths and weaknesses for Kon. Strength, I think we have to start with shooting. I mean, the biggest sell here is that he is a 6'7" elite shooter, shot 40% on very high volume at Duke. Some of those being off the dribble attempts, some of those being spacing off the ball, catch and shoots. How do you grade him out as a shooter?
Yeah, I think he got way better as the year went on. I like remember in the non-conference, like November, December, it was like, why is Duke going to Kon Knueppel in crunch time in all these games? He's like a 32% shooter, got it all the way up to 40 by the end of the year. If it's an open catch and shoot three, it feels like he makes it 99% of the time. And like you said, he has that movement ability as well.
Yep. And I love guys that are shooters that make shots from everywhere. And he's a
Mhm.
90% free throw shooter. He was just so money at the line. They would always get in the ball in late game situations whenever it was close, and he never failed to deliver. But you're right. He shot better from three in conference play, which theoretically is harder to do. He shot 42% from three on 6 attempts a game in conference play. Overall for the season, just 40% from three on 5 attempts. So he shot more and made more as Duke's schedule heated up in the season. Outside of shooting, which is the obvious one everyone would scream about, what are some other strengths for Kon that jump out?
I still think it's like kind of what I was saying at the top about getting to the rim. He shot 63% at the rim as a freshman, which that's you just it doesn't matter what a freshman size is. Like how many like 6'6" shooting guards have we seen struggle to finish against older defenders or defenders with better size. It didn't matter for Khan. As the year went on, it just seemed like every time he would get into the lane, he would make the right decision, whether he was finding Malawash or Malik Brown for a dump off, or whether he was finishing over through a defender and getting to the free throw line. So I think that's just something that you cannot sleep on at all. Is like he's not just a shooter. He can, he's not gonna break you down and take his man off the dribble. But that's, I just, again, I think the body control, the way he understands angles, he's able to get to his spots on the court.
It's the classic Caucasian shooter troops, right? He's not just a shooter, but it's real with Khan. I would just add, I think feel and IQ are the ways I would define it. He has a very good feel on a possession by possession basis for not making the wrong decision. Maybe
Hmm.
that doesn't always lead to a score, maybe it doesn't always lead to an assist, but it's very rare that you'll watch Kon Knueppel have the ball in his hands and be like, that wasn't what he should have done. Like that, oh, he's in the wrong spot. Oh, he should have passed it. No, he almost always does the right thing. And it's because he's very smart and it's because he has great feel. Where do you start from a weakness perspective for Khan?
It's the T-Rex arms. It's the lack of athleticism. Uh, I think he plays really hard defensively. This even goes back to like when I saw him in person when he played at Carolina in the Dean Dome. I talked to him afterwards about Duke's defense down the stretch, and I think they held Carolina to like 3 points or something in the final 10 minutes. Painful times for me to remember, but even asking him about it, like you could tell, it's just something that he gets the importance of it. The importance of it's like cliche, but just like getting down in a stance. Like he's gonna battle on that end, but I still think he'll probably get attacked. Like even rewatching their game against Arizona in the Sweet 16, like he was struggling to get around ball screens to recover on Anthony Del Orso. Like he's going to be playing against much better guards in the NBA than Del Orso, and that's still always going to be an area he needs to improve at. That even though I'm really high on him, I acknowledge that this could be something that like bites him in the playoffs.
I straight up don't think he can defend in the NBA. And that's part of why I think I'm a little lower on Khan than you are and maybe than consensus is. I thought at Duke they tried to hide him defensively. And you could hide him defensively when you had Cooper Flag and Man Man on a college court spacing the floor. It didn't really matter who they played around him. And Duke had great defensive guards. They basically always put Khan on the smallest threat. They kind of tried to hide him in the post sometimes and let Man Man and Coop lurk elsewhere. Even back to EYBL, they hid him in 2-3 zones a lot. And when he played EYBL, I just don't think you can hide him in the NBA. I don't know how you're going to hide Kon Knueppel in the NBA. And I don't think there's really any spot he can guard individually. He's a smart player. He won't make huge mistakes. But there are a lot of guys of his archetype, like secondary, off ball. Honestly, let's just call it what it is, white shooters that find their way into the rotation because they can impact the game defensively.
Mhm.
Khan cannot. It's going to have to come down to what he does offensively, and we'll see. We'll see how good the offensive stuff depends or ends up depending on the situation. Let's get into some of our superlatives here. We have a bunch of categories. We do all of these videos. We have 80 of these leading up to the NBA draft. So if you like this one, go subscribe and check out the others. Give me one word to describe Khan, and then I'll give you mine before we elaborate.
Multi-dimensional.
I went with complimentary with a K. Go ahead and explain yours first.
I mean, you already hit on it with the not just a shooter trope. Like he could do more than that. And again, that all the overall offensive game is why I'm so high on him.
So if people don't know, Khan has a bunch of siblings whose names also start with K. They're the parents of the Knueppel family went all the way in on this trope. And I would like to just show my appreciation and a sign of respect of it. He's complimentary. I think everything about his game, whether you like, don't like it, however you project him, it comes back to what you said, secondary, complementary. How is he making it easier on whoever the big alpha dog is? He did that at Duke. He did that with Cooper Flag. There's almost an Austin Reeves-ish element before they got Luka of like, can he be that guy to the LeBron? And
Mhm.
we'll see. But I think that's the sell on Mr. Khan, Mr. Complimentary. Is he more likely to hit his floor or his ceiling in the NBA?
Ceiling with a K.
Always with a K. I said floor. Why do you think he's more likely to hit his ceiling?
I buy everything about the feel, the processing, the playmaking, and the shot. And I know he measured like a tick under 6'5" without shoes or something. Good thing they play basketball in shoes. Like he's basically 6'6", 6'7". I think that size helps to mitigate some of those issues, even with the short arms.
I want to see you apply that logic to Jace Richardson, by the way, because you were freaking out about how small he is on a
I
different
was,
program
yes.
today. I said floor, but I want to make it known I think there's not much difference between his floor and his ceiling. So I'll elaborate on that when we get to some player comps. But just for me, if I'm putting guys in buckets of guys I believe will hit their best case outcome versus guys that won't, Khan is a guy that I don't think will. I think it's a little too situationally dependent. What's the best team fit for Kon Knueppel in the general range of where he could go?
Charlotte Hornets.
Ooh, okay. I said the San Antonio Spurs, and I think we're gonna have to jump through hoops to get him there. But why do you like him with the Hornets?
So, okay, let me get ahead of this. I'm not a Hornets fan, even though I'm from North Carolina. Don't really care about them. That being said, I think they're a terribly run organization. However, Charles Lee, championship level assistant coach, hopefully can make the leap as a head coach. We'll start to see a little more fruitfulness there. But when you look at where the direction the Hornets are heading, they have Brandon Miller as the star they want to build around. I think LaMelo, it seems like there's some unrest in the fan base about how much can you actually depend on him. Is he too erratic? Khan to me is probably more of like he obviously doesn't have the upside as LaMelo, but a little more of a steadying presence, steadying hand that you could pair next to Brandon Miller, and you have that star in place. You have the 1-2 punch.
I don't hate the sell of that. If you view LaMelo as a guy that can really carry an organization, then I can see that. But yeah, at four, that feels stretchy to me.
Yeah, it does, but
But you're right. But team wise for Khan, that'd be good. So I have the Spurs who draft second and 14th here. Khan's not going to fall to 14th. If he did, they would scoop him up immediately. Second would obviously be a reach, but I think San Antonio may make a trade. I just don't love Khan on any of the teams in the 4 through 8 range. Or Jazz, Wizards, Pelicans, Nets, I think are all kind of in this messy mix where there isn't a star, and that's sort of purgatory for Khan, in my opinion. So you think the Spurs, they've got great guards. De'Aaron Fox and Castle are great. They're going to keep getting better. Wemby's a superstar. It would really take all the pressure off Khan, and he could just focus on making life easier if he somehow landed on the Spurs. In 5 years, where is he? We said you could go all NBA, all star, starter, bench, G League, overseas, or a podcaster.
I'm gonna give him an all-star.
Kon Knueppel all star 5 years from now?
Dude, Tyler Hero made an all-star team, and Knippel is like the better version of that.
Oh, it hurts. I hope you're right. I don't think I see it. Because, like, Tyler Hero had aura.
Yeah, it's fair, but if you hear like if you interview Kon Knueppel, he will sell you. And this is as a Duke hater. He like won me over the one time I talked to him.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I have him off the bench in 5 years, and I don't think he'll be a bench guy his whole career. But well, you and I split different directions. All right, this is a fun one. Kon Knueppel is most likely to what?
Go on Theo Pinson's podcast and say, I actually grew up a UNC fan. I wanted to be a Tar Heel, but I never heard from Hubert Davis.
I said he's most likely to own his own bobblehead. We went two very different directions there. Why don't you go first?
So you got to think about this. When Khan was growing up, would have been when JP Tokoto, another Wisconsin kid, went to Carolina, and just like talking to Jim Root about that, who's also from Wisconsin, he was like, "Man, when we were kids, it was, or I guess high school age for us, kids for Khan, it was like, wow, this kid from like Wisconsin is going to UNC because this was back when like UNC was still an it program, was operating more like one. And it feels like Khan would have seen that, witnessed that, and thought, man, I'd love to be a Tar Heel one day, but Hubert just never called.
I mean, I love any players taking that approach with North Carolina, so I'd love to see that come to fruition, to be
It
honest.
would kill me for the record. I would be twisted over that, but I'm gotta mentally prepare for it.
I will say Khan seems like he's better at ducking questions, though. Anytime I saw a clip of Khan on any sort of setting like that, he was always just like saying the politically correct thing at all times. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a misread on me, but maybe he'll add some spice as his NBA career goes on. I said he's most likely to own his own bobblehead. A lot of these I took pretty seriously and tried to come up with something basketball related. Some of these it was the funniest thing that came to my head right away. Khan and his Wisconsin-based family full of K-named people seem like they would just love to own bobbleheads. Like I could see his dad having like 100 deep bobblehead collection. And there's going to be a Kon Knueppel bobblehead night. He has such a bobbleheadable head. And I think Khan will be very excited about for that night whenever it comes. We also should have done one like keeping up with the Knueppels is right there. That seems like an obvious route at some point.
That would be a good one. That sounds like an HBO Max show.
Yeah.
It might be too family friendly for HBO Max. I'm thinking like they're like a lot more clean cut than like the Paul family, for example.
Yeah, it's so family friendly, honestly. Or like maybe his dad starts their own version of the Big Baller brand. Although you would not want to see them put three-letter logos
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, but they love K's, Riley. They do. I don't know if you've heard that. They're big K fan. Okay, best case comp with two K's. Uh, what do you have?
Desmond Bain, all-star caliber player, get you like 19, 20 a night and can get chip in like 5 assists as well.
I said Kevin Herter. Real quick, you said he's better than Tyler Hero, and then you said his best case comp is Desmond Bain.
Yeah, Desmond Bain's better than Tyler Hero.
Is he?
I think so. I would rather have Bain than Hero.
I need your all NBA rankings at some point. But maybe I'm confused. I have Kevin Herter. I'll elaborate on that in a minute. Worst case comp, I have Max Strus. Who do you have?
Your Caucasian Duke spot up shooter of choice, whether you want Grayson Allen or Luke Kennard, dealer's choice.
Do you think coming into his draft night is Kon significantly better than those guys? Because both of those guys were awesome at Duke, and neither of those guys are rotation players in the league at this point.
Again, I come back to like the ability to handle and run the offense, which I get. Like I get Grayson
Kennard
Allen.
did that.
No, dude, Kennard was strictly like Kennard was either shoot a three or he would back you down, take you into the high post or the mid post and go to work and get a bucket. I think Grayson Allen would run the offense some, but it just felt kind of fake to me when he did it. Maybe because he was there for forever and Con like showed this as a freshman. I think worst case scenario, he has their type of careers where it's like you can depend on them as a spot up shooter and they're gonna play. He's gonna play for a decade plus. But yeah, I think he's better than both of those guys. Like Kennard was what? Kennard was 2 years there.
Kennard was there for 2 years. Kennard's career numbers, by the way, at Duke are nearly identical to Kahn's in his 1 year. Luke's second year, his sophomore year, was way better than Kahn's freshman year, but obviously no Cooper Flag on that team. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering it. You certainly watched more Duke than I did, but Kennard to me felt like a dude that would get primary ball handler reps and could create some stuff off the dribble. Maybe not for others as much, but he could certainly get his own. I don't know, man. I think you pointing that out as the worst case scenario makes me feel better about me thinking he'll hit his floor because there's a whole lot of great Duke players that looked a whole lot like Kon Knueppel at Duke that ended up outside of the rotation in the NBA. So we'll see. I said Strus for the record to elaborate on my comps. If I think his best case scenario is Herter and his worst case is Strus, those guys are like essentially the same guy right now. Herter just did it for more years. I don't think there's a world where Kon Knueppel can't play in the NBA. Like he's too high of a floor for that. I just don't see the star upside that I think others do. And that's where I'm going to land on Mr. Knueppel. We shall see. Do you feel better at the end of that video, Riley?
I do. I do feel better.
Kon is like a very confusing player for me. I don't know why. I could see it going so many different ways, but I know he's going to play in the league. If you like that video, we have 79 others for the NBA draft. Go check them out. Thanks for watching.